Welcome to Studio One. Glad to have you along as we join you from our studio located on the campus of the University of North Dakota. I'm your host, Tom Beering. Up ahead in this half hour, writing for children, just how difficult is it? Children's author Marion Bauer will be here to give us an idea. Also joining us to discuss the precious commodity of energy, Director of the Energy and Mineral Research Center, Dr. Gerry Groenewold. And our open door segment will feature the lady that has made us laugh and laugh for many years, Phyllis Diller. But first, let's go to the news desk with Chris Blaine. Chris?
Thank you, Tom. If you want to pay your first parking ticket of the new semester, you know the old UND parking office has been moved to the new Auxiliary Services building on Campus Road near Kaz. The UND parking office has been consolidated with UND Police under the direction of Police Chief Dwayne Kopesky. And with record enrollment at the university, Kopesky says residence halls' parking lots have outgrown their capacity.
What we consider fixed parking for those people that live here. There have been more people in the residence halls bringing cars that stay on campus, and that particular area has filled up.
16 assistant security officers monitor parking activities in UND lots. Perry Lauer says one of the biggest changes this year is in the increase in the penalty for parking in handicapped areas.
And anybody found in there gets a $100 ticket, and it used to be that we had to call the officers over, but now the policy is that we can write the $100 ticket.
Chief Kopesky says his people try to be as consistent as possible enforcing the parking rules. UND will be hosting nearly 600 college students this weekend for a residence hall conference. The Midwest Association of College and University Residence Halls bringing together hall government leaders from a 7-state area, including North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, Minnesota, Kansas, and Iowa. The delegates will attend workshops beginning with the opening session at the Chester Fritz Auditorium Friday night. The theme of the conference is Let Your Imagination Fly. All government leaders from UND won the bid for a conference last year at the University of Kansas. Despite recent budget cuts and layoffs at the UND Medical Center Rehabilitation Hospital, the market for physical therapists remains good. Students from UND's PT program are being actively recruited by rehab centers all over the United States. No current UND students were affected by the layoffs, and officials say the intern program is still strong. Officials in the School of Medicine have looked into creating a residency program at the rehab, where they say that would involve getting accreditation from a number of national organizations and would not be ready any time in the near future. Training, pain, and discipline all are a part of the triathlete's world. And as Amy Bremser reports, their intense dedication is what makes the triathlete a cut above the rest.
Air Force Captain Stan Bratt is a man driven to excel in the ultimate test of physical strength, speed, and skill, the triathlon, a grueling competition that includes a 1.5K swim, 40K bike race, and 10K run.
Swimming is definitely my weakest event. I started swimming really only about 2 years ago, and since then I've improved quite a bit. I've joined the master's program here at UND, and through the coaching and stuff, it's helped quite a bit.
If any time Bratt may lose during the swimming leg, he more than makes up for in his biking skills. After 25 minutes in the pool, he takes off for a 25-mile bike trek, which takes him only an hour to complete. Bratt credits his fierce training workouts with achieving what many may deem impossible.
As far as the bike, I'd say in the peak training days of the summer or weeks, I'd say probably 200 to 400 miles a week. Biking here is a little different from anywhere else. It's completely flat and extremely windy.
Just when many of us would be reaching for the Gatorade, Bratt looks forward to his best event, the 6.2-mile run. A college track star and 2:30 marathoner, he breezes through the race in 34 minutes.
I started out as a runner, primarily racing 10Ks and marathons, and I've kind of transitioned over into triathlon. So running as the last leg of the triathlon, it's kind of convenient for me, being my strongest event.
Bratt's best time for the triathlon is around 1 hour 58 minutes. He is currently training for the Duluth Ultra Marathon at the end of October and hopes to compete for the Air Force in the Ironman Triathlon in Hawaii next year. For Stan Bratt, the goal of competing in the Ironman Triathlon is not far from reach. This is Amy Bremser reporting from Grand Forks for Studio One.
And that's a look at today's news headlines. For Studio One, I'm Chris Blaine reporting. Tom?
Chris, lots of sports this weekend, beginning with NBA basketball. The Minnesota Timberwolves, in their inaugural season, as they're calling it, play the Milwaukee Bucks in exhibition basketball tomorrow night at NDSU. Tip-off is 7:30. In college football, #1 ranked Notre Dame, still leading the pack, hosts 8th-rated University of Southern California, while #3 Colorado faces Kansas. And in college hockey, the WCHA pairs them up this way: Michigan Tech at Wisconsin, Colorado College at Denver, Minnesota Duluth at Minnesota, and the University of North Dakota on the road against Northern Michigan Friday and Saturday night. Turning to weather, here's Studio One meteorologist Jay Searles. Jay?
Thank you, Tom. After a chilly start and a chilly first part of the week, looks like Indian summer is going to return to the Red River Valley area. In the almanac, we had a high yesterday of 46 degrees, and this morning's low was 24 with no precipitation. Currently in the Grand Forks area at 4 p.m., sunny skies. The temperature is 54 degrees, winds are southerly at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and the relative humidity is 46%. Taking a look at the map across the nation, an early winter-type storm has developed over the east coast, bringing with it a lot of heavy rain across much of the east and southeast, some thunderstorms down in Florida. But behind it, the big story is the very heavy snow across Indiana and Ohio. Dayton, Ohio had over 7 inches of rain in the last 7 inches of snow, in the last 24 hours. And that snow is going to continue through much of the evening, and snow advisories are out. For the western part of the United States, 50s and 60s and lots of sunny skies. Very nice out there. This frontal system up in the northwest is bringing with it just a wind shift as temperatures are still in the 50s behind it. That front will be moving into our pictures, but all it actually do will bring with it more warmer temperatures for our region. So as the weekend progresses, flow will continue out of the southwest, bringing with it Indian summer. I'll be back with a little bit later in the forecast, with the River Valley weekend forecast. Tom?
Okay, thank you, Jay. Boxing fans, here's your night out. WBA light heavyweight North Dakota native Virgil Hill will defend his title and duke it out with James the Heat Kinchin at the Bismarck Civic Center Tuesday, October 24th. For more ticket information, contact the Bismarck Civic Center. When we return, children's author Marion Bauer. So keep it right here.
Some people say the press goes too far sometimes.
Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate to comment at this time.
Had they stopped here, you may never have known about Watergate. Or here, you may never have known if an issue concerned you.
The committee approved all.
Now you say the committee was involved, sir?
No.
To protect your right to be informed.
I have nothing more to say.
How far should the press go? To learn more about the free press, contact the First Amendment Center.
Just a fraction of what we spend dining out could help pick up the tab for a good cause. A small part of what we spend on sports could help keep our community in shape. Or some of our time on the phone could help answer society's problems. Won't you get involved? By giving 5% of your income and volunteering 5 hours per week, you can really help your community. This year, make it your goal to give 5. What you get back is immeasurable.
Our first guest is an author for one of the toughest audiences in the world, children. Her books are about honesty, not the sugary sweet prose, to tell a story that respects its younger readers. Marion Bauer is author of such books as Rain of Fire, Touch the Moon, and the 1987 Newbery Award winner On My Honor. We welcome to Studio One Marion Bauer. Marion, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Now, are we correct to assume that children are actually one of the toughest audiences to write for?
I think they are, in that children are honest. Children don't read because somebody else says something's worth reading. Children respond to what they're going to respond to or choose not to.
What then, Marion Bauer, makes up a children's author?
I think a children's author is someone who's still in touch with the child in themselves and is writing for that child and through that child, and therefore can make contact with children of any time.
And you are a parent?
I'm a parent. My own children are young adults now, though.
How essential is it for you when you do write to draw on your own experiences with children or even your own childhood?
I don't draw on either, actually. I draw on my own feelings. And I draw on feelings that come from a core of my childhood, but very few of my own actual experiences.
Did you write when your children were younger?
I began writing professionally when my youngest child started first grade. So yes, I wrote through the years that my children passed through the same years I was writing about. I never actually used my children as a core for any of my stories, though.
Would it be the highest compliment to have one of your children come up to you and say, "Mom, this is real good"? Yes,
and it's the kind of thing that I think most writers who are parents don't experience a whole lot, because the kids get so whatever the parent produces is just taken for granted that that's what they do.
Marion, in this age, a generation who sits saturated in front of MTV, Steven Spielberg movies, 3D movies, are children becoming less and less to write for? Is there less of an audience these days?
Now, I'm not sure I can fully answer that because I do the writing and someone else worries about whether the audience is out there. I know that kids are still reading my books. I know I get responses from kids. I go into schools where kids are reading the books. I think probably the difference that television has made has been a difference for all of us, and that is that the stories have to catch their attention faster. They have to be honed and very lean and move. And I think good fiction does that, so I don't think it's a bad demand on what I'm doing.
Marion, at any of the stage of your writing, are you consciously finding yourself having to compete with those highly visual forms of entertainment?
Never. I'm writing the story for the sake of the story and for the sake of the child who inhabits the story. I am myself not a television watcher, and so I couldn't compete if I wanted to because I'm not tuned into what's happening there.
Have you found the quality of children's books increase with the abundance of this type of entertainment?
I think the quality of children's books has increased. I'm not sure whether there's any relation to what's happening in the other media. I think the demands for quality have gone up with the librarians and teachers who are doing the purchasing. I think our expectation as to what children can deal with has gone up, so that we're writing now for children as people, not as a population that we want to impose something on in some kind of way.
What would you say would the child miss that sits in front of the VCR rather than tending to a good book?
I think one of the primary experiences that good fiction brings to a reader of any age is the ability to move inside another human being and experience the world through that human being's eyes, see it through the human being's eyes, feel it with that human being's feelings. And I think it's an experience that extends our humanness by recognizing both the difference in other people, of other cultures, of other times, and the inherent sameness that lies at the core. And I think good drama can do that, but I think fiction in many ways does it even more profoundly than good drama, and far more than the average of what's offered in the more popular media.
A quick answer, Marion. Your 1987 Newbery Award winner, On My Honor, dealt with a young boy's courage to tell the truth. Do you find that children's authors don't just necessarily primarily write for the sake of creativity as much as to strengthen young children's moral fiber?
I think children's authors tend to be people who have themselves a strong set of values, but I never write to impose that set of values. I write to challenge, to ask questions, to feel, and then those values are going to be inherent in what's there.
Marion, thanks for coming on. Enjoy your time up here. Back to Minneapolis you go soon.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Author and keynote speaker for UND's Children's Writers Conference, Marion Bauer. Up next, a look at one of the funniest ladies in the world of comedy when Studio One continues.
Come from?
Welcome back to Studio One. When Phyllis Diller first walked on the stage, she was 37 years old, a working housewife and a mother of 5. In 1956, she debuted at the Purple Onion in San Francisco, opening for 2 weeks. By demand, she stayed for 89. The rest, as they say, is history. Today on our Open Doors segment, we feature the high priestess of the ridiculous, Phyllis Diller. There are some who are made to be seen, and some who are made to be heard. Among the few who are made to do both, there will always be only one Phyllis Diller.
Either you're recognized or you aren't. And now when I want to shop or do something incognito, and I'm wearing a wonderful disguise, I dare not speak. Don't even think about laugh. Don't even say a word, or they go, you know. So my voice print is pretty special.
Do you have to, tell me about when you dress incognito. What do you get into?
I go as a nun.
Consistently?
Well, that's one of my disguises. This depends on where I want to go. If I want to shop at Kmart, I dress like Kmart people do.
And how's that?
Lousy.
Comedy today internationally is booming, yet you still stand acclaimed as the world's only female comic of international stature.
That's probably true, but I think Joan Rivers is now known in other countries. You see, we throw that word international in because I have for many years been very well known in Australia because I've done 14 trips and tours there, plus Canada, always, and wherever English, in London, England, and Ireland, wherever English is spoken, I have been known for years, happily. It's nice to be known as that. For 10 years, I had the whole thing all to myself. I was the only female stand-up. And then along came Joan Rivers. And now there's about 200 girl comics.
She is a whirlwind and a woman of many parts. The ageless wonder Phyllis Diller spends 6 months or more a year starring in her hour-long one-woman show, most of them one-night stands. She's an author of 4 best-selling books for Doubleday, a piano soloist for charities, a familiar face on talk shows, a gifted painter, and creator of her own line of skincare products and homemade chili. And her inspiration for all this?
Oh, activity. Now that may sound empty, but you know, when people put the way in the nut house, first thing that they notice that they're getting better is when they have activity. The first thing they do is give them something to do, you know. I've known little old ladies who've knit a white line for a highway in the nut house. The main thing is activity, even if it doesn't get them any place.
You've been performing since 1955. Phyllis, how has comedy changed for the better, for the worse, or hasn't it changed all that significantly over the years?
Big change, and it's for the better and the worse. The better is that it's a lot looser and the rules aren't so stringent, but the bad part is that some people have abused that privilege and gotten really sloppy dirty with the use of 4-letter words, and so then it's a kind of a cop-out. They don't really have any material, and of course they all abuse the privilege of using real truck driver words. You know, I've hit a few trucks. I know what they say. God, it's been one of those years. My fan club broke up. The guy died. I've been in town several hours already, had 2 obscene phone calls. Collect. I carried a big load of low self-esteem, and I've thrown all that off too. Not all of it, but I think most people they don't really think enough of themselves. You have to fight for that all your life, I think. And a new face surely helped me. Now I don't have to come out just on Halloween.
You're the brunt of your own jokes.
Of course, that's the best way.
Are there negative consequences that you've found with that, or isn't there?
No, it's the best way to be accepted. You have to fight for acceptance because, all right, let me explain. Especially, here's what happens with women comics. Comedy is an aggressive, hostile act, and that is not acceptable in a woman. Think about the Madonna thing, the motherhood, the nurturing role, the wife. Okay, now a woman steps out of the Madonna role. She's standing up in front of you naked as a jaybird, ego hanging out, telling you, I'm going to make you laugh. Right away, it's hostile, it's aggressive, and you have to get around that. So telling them that you're not perfect and laughing about it is a fine way to be accepted. Then you can go on with the other stuff. First, you got to attack yourself. Otherwise, they might not know you're kidding.
What makes Phyllis Diller, the performer, unique?
Unique? Well, I write my own material, which, of course, that isn't that unique. Most comics do. I invented a woman talking about domesticity, which now Roseanne Barr is cashing in on. She's already got her first $50 million, And of course, I started that 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And unique. I guess it's because I'm now old. I lead the pack in age. Ha ha ha. They can't catch up to that.
Phyllis Diller, would you believe 72-year-old Phyllis Diller? When we return, we'll talk to Energy and Mineral Research Director, Dr. Gerry Groenewold.
I was going to take a job with that engineering firm in New York. I got a better offer. I'm building schools overseas with the Peace Corps. The pace is a little slower than New York, but here I'm getting grassroots experience I couldn't get anywhere else. The way I look at it, the world can wait 2 years for another 40-story smoked glass high-rise.
Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
Our next guest is a driving force behind one of the principal centers of coal research in the country. He is currently examining safe and clean ways to use coal, one of the most abundant forms of energy in the United States. Dr. Gerry Groenewold is the director of the Energy and Mineral Research Center in Grand Forks and is involved with various other organizations that deal with solving the problems of tomorrow today. Studio One welcomes Dr. Gerry Groenewold. Good to have you, Gerry.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Now, much to our surprise, that's not a very often thought that dirty little black piece of coal is a precious treasure. Compare the value of coal to oil and gas.
Well, coal is a resource that I think is commonly misunderstood in the sense of the total resources available. It is orders of magnitude greater than oil and gas. And that's particularly so in this country. We're the Saudis of coal, if you will. We have a tremendous resource that has only barely been tapped. It has many applications beyond simply burning it to make electricity. And that's part of the emphasis of our center, is to burn it cleanly. Clean coal technologies are very important, considering all the environmental issues. And also, very importantly, to make high-value other products from it, such as liquids or gaseous products.
It is a stable source of energy income. You've mentioned to me before more than gas and oil. Why is that?
Well, the oil and gas industry is susceptible to the international situation. There is not, if you will, an international oil price. It varies constantly. So until that is stabilized, I think we will always see boom and bust cycles associated with oil and gas. And we certainly have seen that in recent years in western states such as North Dakota. Coal, on the other hand, is a stable commodity in the sense of long-term contracts, and an area that has coal production or coal utilization facilities typically can see 30 to 40 years of stable economic environment.
And very abundant. As a matter of fact, countries waiting in line to tap into our resources and your expertise. Give us an idea of what these international countries are gaining from your expertise.
Well, our center, the Energy and Mineral Research Center, is the leading low-rank coal research facility in the world. Low-rank coal meaning lignite and subbituminous, which is the kind of coal we find typically in the western United States. It is also the coal that is typically found in most of the Pacific Rim countries. So we are currently working on contracts with people in Europe, but almost all of the Pacific Rim countries show particular promise for us. We're working right now in Taiwan, in Thailand, in Australia, in India, in the Philippines, and we are looking at contracts in other parts of that world.
And the beauty of what you're accomplishing doesn't end there. You're doing it clean. And you make a very strong point of that. How?
Well, there are many ways. If I can hopefully not offend the lignite and the coal industry too much, it would seem that for the last 30 years there's been very little in the way of innovative research focused on new technology. And this day and age, with the issues such as acid rain, greenhouse effect, etc., you can no longer consider coal as simply a resource that you're going to burn and ignore the environmental consequences. And so indeed all technologies that are being examined currently have to be examined with the environmental consequences in mind. We are looking at new liquid products. We are looking at high-value char products from coal. For example, we can take a coal that is valued at maybe $10 a ton and turn it into something that's worth as much as $1,000 a ton. So there are many new and exciting things happening in that area. And as the world's leader in low-rank coal, we see more and more people coming to our door, if you will.
You alluded to this earlier, that the U.S. is the Saudis of coal. It also provides for us an insurance policy for the future. A man in your position in decision making and setting precedent as you do, will we do business like the Saudis do? Or is there intention of goodwill and sharing our abundance with other countries?
Well, that's partially a political question which I'm not capable or able or probably willing to try to answer. We're certainly interested in sharing our technology, our expertise with anyone who's willing to pay for it. That's the practical bottom line. And so we close our door to no one. We're not running a charity, but we're certainly interested in working on research projects anywhere in the world. Indeed, we're looking at some major programs right now in Russia and China.
You've referred to it as technology commercialization. Real briefly, of all places, why Grand Forks?
Well, it evolved here. Our facility was originally a federal facility, which began operation in the late 40s. It became part of the university in the early 80s. That is why Grand Forks. The university was here. North Dakota has a tremendous coal resource. The combination said there ought to be a research facility in Grand Forks.
Makes sense. Gerry, a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming by. Good to see you. Director of the Energy and Mineral Research Center, Dr. Gerry Groenewold. When we come back, Jay Searles will give us one last look at the weekend forecast. Gerry, thanks.
Yo, Alf here. Apparently some chowderheads out there aren't taking care of this planet. They're messing up public lands. They're littering the beaches and vandalizing the parks. Look, folks, public lands are not like pizzas. You just can't pick up the phone and order more. So let's take care of our land. Let's save the planet. Call me and promise you'll help. I'll send you a bunch of neat stuff. It's my way of saying thanks. It's an acknowledgement of your concern. It's a bribe. What's wrong, Vince?
My woman's done left me, my dog ran away, and people still aren't wearing their safety belts.
Aw, Vince, you singing those buckle up blues again?
Some people don't wear their seat belts. I can't believe it's true. Those kind of people get knocked right out of their shoes. So buckle up, baby. Don't sing me those buckle up blues.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
I mean it, baby. Buckle, honeysuckle, buckle, yeah.
Keep your calendar open for an event that you may never get a chance to see again. The American Indian Dance Theater Troupe will be touring and stopping at Moorhead University on October 27th. 21 dancers from over 17 tribes will perform dances usually reserved for tribal competitions and formal ceremonies, a cultural experience that you won't want to miss. With one last look at the weekend's forecast, here's Jay Searles. Jay?
Thanks again, Tom. Taking a look at our tri-state map for tomorrow afternoon, you can see temperatures still in the 40s over much of eastern Minnesota, lower 50s parts west of Minnesota. The reason for this is that high pressure system that was over us has shifted east, but remnants of the cold air still exist across eastern Minnesota. However, that high pressure is going to provide southerly flow up through the southern South Dakota into North Dakota. That will bring warmer temperatures into much of the region, and overall a slow warming trend is on hand for the weekend. Temperatures for tomorrow afternoon will be in the 60s in part of western North Dakota, and those will be here for the weekend. Taking a look at the forecast in detail for tonight, clear skies, a low of 27 degrees, winds will be calm and no chance for any precipitation. For tomorrow we can expect partly cloudy skies, a high of 60 degrees, winds will be south at 10 to 15 miles per hour with no chance for any precipitation. Saturday, sunny, 60 to 65, and on Sunday, clear skies, warmer yet, 65 to 70. Enjoy Indian summer while it lasts. Have a nice weekend. Tom?
Good forecast. That sounds real good, Jay. Thanks. We'd like to thank our guests, Marion Bauer and Dr. Gerry Groenewold, for joining us today. From all of us here at Studio N, it's been a pleasure having you along. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.